Welcome to our show. I'm Fiorella, this is Pasta, and we're going to be discussing some topics today that I feel more of us in our country need to have a conversation about. Things that we need to incorporate in our daily lives because right now there's a lot at stake. So
Yes. We are here on this couch because we feel that there's a lot at stake, especially coming up in the next couple years. And we, as progressives, don't have a platform to get our message out. So that's why we're here on the couch discussing these important issues that we need to get out.
Perfect.
So the first issue.
So one of the things I really wanted to mention is the whole resistance movement. The resistance movement is a great movement in terms of getting the pathos out there, getting the emotions out there, but it fails to address actual actions, to address issues and problems that actually got us here in the first place. And that's why I want to make a difference between the resistance and the revolution.
Yes.
So the resistance is a very reactive action. It's very based on something happening to you. The revolution is more proactive. You're taking an action. You're on the offensive rather than on the defensive. And when you do that, you are able to move forward instead of repeating the same cycle that keeps you going back to the position that led us here.
Yeah. And I think it's safe to say that the resistance has been hijacked. Very much just like the Arab Spring. When people when they go back and they talk about the Arab Spring, what happened in Egypt, they had this whole movement where a lot of the youth, a lot of the young people of Egypt went out there and protested against the government, only to find the Islamists come in and take over once they removed the government and put it aside. The same thing has happened here. Resistance has been hijacked by the neoliberal movement, the establishment Democrat. They want you to concentrate on just resisting.
Or hating Trump, or talking about Trump. Yeah. And don't get me wrong, I don't like Trump. The majority of people don't.
Yeah.
But we don't need to sit there and talk about, oh, he did this. Oh, he called him a moron. Or he's upset because someone called him a moron. It's like, we don't need to spend hours discussing that because that's not going to get us anywhere.
Yeah.
What we need to focus on is how did we get here?
Yeah.
How did we get here so we don't repeat the same mistakes? And one of the examples that I have for this resistance versus revolution is the whole Democratic Party pushing for the ACA, but not wanting to discuss single payer.
Exactly.
They refuse to even discuss it because they say, oh, well, Republicans are going to criticize us. They're going to, insult us, and they're going to be able to just get rid of us. And if we don't have the ACA, people are going to die. We'll talk about it later. We'll talk about single payer later.
Yeah.
And later never comes. So it's just kind of like.
Yeah. The resistance is just designed to take your eye off the ball. And what we need to be looking at, once again, is how we got Trump. He is not the problem. He is merely the symptom. The reason why Trump is in office is because the establishment Democrat keeps doing the same thing. And it is just resistance. There's nothing proactive about it. That's why I say revolution. And I love being part of the revolution because with the revolution there is points and principles to make. Like you just said, it's single payer. That's number one part of the revolution. We're not just for, stopping the Trump movement to abolish the ACA, Trump care. We're about moving forward with single payer.
Especially now that he made an executive decision and, he's putting millions of people out of coverage. He's virtually killing people.
Yeah.
There is no other option.
Yeah.
We have to, preserve the ACA for all its faults while simultaneously pushing for single payer.
Yeah.
And
we should easily push for single payer because you're talking 60% of the population wants a form of universal health care.
60% of the population does. Yeah.
It's there for us.
Yes.
So rather just sit there and say, no, I'd rather say, no, how about this? How about we do this? Even when it comes to the minimum wage, I'm saying we can't just say, hey, we're going to give you a better deal and raise your salary. No, $15 an hour. $15 an hour across the board. Let's put the money back into the working people's hands so they can spend it.
Exactly.
Environment. No to fracking. This is a big thing during the primaries. You can't just say I'm for the environment and say yes to fracking.
And accept money from oil companies.
The fracker in chief was what Obama was. I mean, he's the one who, let this go. So, I mean, you can't just keep pointing the finger at Donald Trump, resist,
without looking inward.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They don't want to look inward. The Democratic establishment wants the status quo. They want their money. They just want you to resist and keep your eye off the ball.
And that's
they are the ball.
a losing mentality, because the reason people voted for Donald Trump, why a great many people voted for Donald Trump, is exactly because they felt that the government didn't care about them, that it was these corporate oligarchs were like Clinton, like Bush. They didn't want these people. They didn't want these corporate career politicians. And I've talked to a great many people who voted for Trump, and they specifically told me that that's the reason why.
Yeah.
And they didn't want anyone. They wanted anyone but Hillary.
Yeah,
too.
pretty much.
And they could have chosen a better candidate. That would lead to that.
There's so many. We can get into that too as well.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? There's so many things that the Democrats could have done to win. Despite getting caught with their hand in the cookie jar.
Yeah.
If there's any collusion, it was them. And this is them trying to come back in the form of resistance. Like they're the rebels. And it's like, no, we're trying to resist you.
Yeah, that's what
we're revolution. We have, what I'm saying, not only do we have good songs, we got the Beatles. I mean, we got we got a lot of good stuff. But the revolution has better songs than Resistance, and it has a clearer path down the road. We cannot just go back to the status quo, and that's what Resistance offers us. Just stop him and go back to the status quo.
And I'm gonna actually reference Naomi Klein, because she recently put out a book called "No Is Not Enough," and I'm gonna go ahead and read a quote that actually goes perfectly.
I love
along
Naomi
with this.
Klein.
She said in an interview, "Just in practical terms, if all we do is hold the line, we adopt this defensive posture and say no and resist. And even in the absolute best case scenario, if we were to win every one of these defensive fights, which we won't, we already know that because we lost them, then the best case scenario is we end up right exactly where we were before Trump was elected, which is exactly the context that produced Trump."
Yes. And let's not forget, this is not just losing to Trump. The Democratic Party's been wiped out across the board. They want to go back to the the Democrats want to go back to the same status quo that has lost over 1,000 seats in Congress and governor houses. I mean, it's just terrible. Why do the same thing over and over again and expect different results?
Correct.
So we can't just resist. We have to have a revolution.
And you can see this in immigration right now. When Nancy Pelosi was speaking in favor of DACA, and there was about 41 Dreamers that protested and told her, "We are not a bargaining chip."
Yeah.
Because for a long time, the Democratic Party has been the party of the minorities, of poor people, and people are slowly realizing that that's not the case anymore. And
that was a long time ago. I think Jimmy Carter was the last one who
and it's like, even these Dreamers who are very, they're brave and they're out there and they're on the line, their whole lives are on the line. They're saying, we don't want something that's just good enough. We want amnesty for all of us.
Yes. They want to take the next step.
Including our parents.
Yes. You know what it is? It's just that what the Democrats are presenting them is just okay. And okay is not okay.
Okay is not enough.
Okay is not okay. Okay is not okay, and it's time to move forward with a revolution. And that is actually standing for something other than platitudes. And that's why the resistance hasn't worked. It's hijacked. So when I see resist, I say, I'm part of the revolution.